morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today to our second day of Capstone presentations. For those of you who were not here yesterday, our group that presented yesterday did an incredible job. Their projects were amazing, and they got up here and they gave fantastic speeches. So if we can just give our friends from yesterday one more round of applause. Just to give you a little bit of background, these students have been working really hard with their parents and their advising groups and their advisors to plan and implement a year-long independent community service project. What I found yesterday and from reading through the descriptions of the projects and talking to the students is that this is one of the first years that I have seen such a personal connection with the projects that they're doing, that these students felt very strongly about and very passionately about the projects that they did and the organizations that they helped. And I think that that's something that you will see today as well come through, the passion and the amount of work that the students have done with something that is so very important to them. Prepare to be inspired by the presentations that you'll see today and the amount of work that our students have done, and prepare to be amazed by how well they speak, how passionate they are about what they're doing, and about how much fun they actually had with this presentation and with this actual project. So I would like to get to our students and give them the opportunity to present that to you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Our first person presenting and our first group going is Miss Lisa Lockhart. So if we can have Miss Lisa Lockhart come up.
Hello, my name is Lisa Lockhart, and I've had the privilege of working with most of my advisees since 6th grade. We have 2 new members of our group, and we're very proud of them for jumping in halfway through the Capstone process, and we're really doing a great job. Okay, as most of you know, Capstone is a service, but it's also a learning project, and it starts in 7th grade, it's completed in the fall of 8th grade. Throughout the process, we hope that our students learn a little bit more about themselves, and that there are organizations and people in the world that need our help. And if we reach out to them, the results are impressive. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my advising group so they can share with you the service that they provided to their community and what they learned from it. So our first presenter is Grace Steves. Grace and Cy work together on their capstone, but they're going to present individually. Okay, so Grace, you can come up first.
Hello, BFCCPS. My name is Grace Steves. Today I'm speaking to you about my capstone, which is water bottle recycling. Being a new student this year, I needed a capstone project to work on that could be completed easily and done within the time given. With this in mind, I decided that it would be in my favor if I picked up on a legacy project. A legacy project is a capstone project that is started by 1 or 2 students and usually benefits the whole school. It is carried on throughout the years by other students who add their own touches to it and make it their own. In this case, the legacy project that I chose to work on was water bottle recycling. Water bottle recycling is where me and my capstone partner and I would go around to all the classrooms each Thursday and collect all the water bottles that the teachers and students put in the reusable bag we gave them. We would then put the recycled water bottles in 2 recycling bins at the front of the school that would be picked up every Monday by the town of Franklin. To start off my capstone, my partner and I had to give every classroom a designated spot for all their empty water bottles. To do this, we sent out a survey to all the teachers to see if they had already had a reusable bag from last year to use, or if we needed new ones. After this was done, we told everyone that these bags were for water bottles only and that anyone could use them. Once everyone knew this, we got started right away. Throughout the process of water bottle recycling, we were not faced with many obstacles, but there were a few. One of the obstacles that we faced was contacting stores to see if they would donate reusable bags. Since it took time to contact stores, receive the bags, and hand them out, it took a week or 2 more than we hoped to get the recycling up and running. Another obstacle we faced had to do with the bins in the front of the building. These were the bins that the town provided for recycling. The bins we would place all the water bottles every Thursday after we collected them. However, because they were not in use during the summer and the first couple of weeks, of school, they collected a lot of dirt and people decided to use them as trash cans. Once we discovered the not-so-nice treasures within the bins, we had to clean them out and hose them down. Once all these few road bumps were smoothed out, we did not have many more problems, except for the uncontrollable ones like weather, which prevented us from doing recycling those days. From every obstacle we faced, a positive result came out of it. Some of the positives were that both teachers and students were taking notice in the recycling and decided to take part in it. Because of this, each week we collected a full trash bag worth of water bottles. Another positive was that we didn't face any major obstacles, so our capstone ran pretty smoothly. Along with the positive outcomes of water bottle recycling, I learned a lot about the benefits of it. When you recycle your water bottles, they go to the dump to be reproduced into new items, such as cardboard, paper, glass bottles, jars, food and drink cartons, cans, and even orange sacks. However, if you just throw them out or leave your water bottles lying around, they could end up in places like the ocean and harm the animals living there, or build up into a giant pile and hurt the environment. Not only will I keep recycling my water bottles in the future, but I will also spread it to other people so that they can recycle too. My capstone wouldn't be complete, however, without adding to the legacy. So to make the process a little bit easier for the next person who picks up this legacy project, we were lucky enough to have maps of the school made. We marked the map showing where the reusable bag in each classroom was. Along with the maps, we also bought reusable bags that all had the same design. That way, whoever picks up the capstone next knows exactly what they're looking for, and with the map, they know exactly where it is. Just to add a little more to the legacy, I made signs to put above each bag that say BFCCPS water bottle recycling. Put water bottles here. This way, students and faculty will really take notice of the water bottle recycling and put it to use. Also, it will help the next student get in and out of the classroom quickly. I'd like to thank multiple people for helping me with my capstones. They are my advisor, Mrs. Lockhart, for guiding me throughout the process of capstone and through every twist and turn. My capstone partner that I worked with, Cy did already, Mrs. Schwab for creating the maps of the school, my advising group who helped with the water bottle recycling process, the faculty of BFCCPS, the students of BFCCPS, and every other person who helped throughout this capstone project. With your help, we were all able to make a change together.
Next, Cy Data from his perspective.
Hello and good morning, faculty, students, and parents of BFCCPS. My name is Cy Data, and this morning I will be explaining the capstone project I decided to do. For my capstone, I worked on bottle recycling. This is a legacy project, meaning I took over someone else's project and enhanced it. I decided that this would be a big help to the school because I heard that bottles hadn't been recycled in a year. Recycling plastic bottles is important because we save a lot of bottles from the landfill. These bottles can be turned into clothing, reusable grocery bags, and many more items. Because I was new to the school this year, I started out with step 4. I chose a project, decided on my goals, and set deadlines. Within 2 weeks, Mrs. Lockhart told me my idea was a go and I could move on with the details. First, I sent out an email to all the teachers informing them that I was going to be coming around to collect the bottles. I asked each teacher if they had a bag available in their class to collect the bottles. If they didn't, I supplied a bag for their classroom. The following week, I realized there was another problem I needed to solve before I could start the actual recycling. Over time, people had been putting all sorts of trash in the outdoor recycling bins, and I was notified I had to clean them out first. So Grace and I cleaned out the bins, hosed them down, and they were ready to be used. I'll tell you now, I don't want to see or smell the inside of those bins again. The capstone project was ready to begin. So starting the next week and every week after that, Grace and I went to every classroom and picked the bottles up during our advising period. Sometimes people left the bottles with water still in them, so I dumped the water out and then put the empty bottles in the trash bag. After we collected all of the water bottles, I emptied all the bottles into the recycling bin. The following Monday morning, I put the bins on the curb and waited for the town's recycling truck to pick them up on Tuesday. On Wednesday, after the bottles were picked up, I brought the bins back in, and the process started all over the next day in advising. There were quite a few obstacles that I encountered. One of the obstacles was trying to get people to stop putting trash in their recycling bins. First, I tried to put paper signs on each recycling bin, but the rain just washed them away. Then I tried an email, and I knew it wasn't working when trash was still being put in the bins. So I decided to give it time, and eventually it started to work when I saw less and less trash in the bins. Another obstacle was trying to recycle. Was at first the recycling truck didn't come to pick up the bottles because of all the trash in the bins. They did not know that we had cleaned out the bins, so we had to call the town and notify them that we cleaned out the bins and they contained only empty water bottles. Even after we called them, they did not pick up, so we tried again and left a voicemail. Eventually, after we called them, they did not pick up, so we tried again and left a voicemail. Eventually, the bins were emptied. The last obstacle I faced was coming in halfway through the whole process, so taking on a legacy project seemed like the right choice for me. As with all legacy projects, I have to enhance it. We will be making a map for each room and marking exactly where in the room the bag is going to be. We will be also adding hooks to the rooms that need a more convenient place for the bag to hang. This way, everything is more organized and efficient. There were many positive results throughout my whole experience with the project. Some of these results were the reason I was able to finish my project. For example, after we left the voicemail for the Franklin Department of Public Works, we got a positive result when the bins were being emptied. Another positive result was when people finally stopped putting trash in the bins. This was a big thing because now I wouldn't have to clean out the bins each week, and it saves a lot of time. The big impact of this project is that we save about 100 bottles a week from ending up in the landfill. So if we do the math, we will probably recycle about 4,000 bottles by the end of the school year. I would like to give a special thank you to Colin Flaherty for helping me through what Capstone was and what I had to do when I got lost when I first started Capstone. I would like to give a special thank you to Grace Steves for making the recycling and everything possible. I would also like to give a special thank you to Ms. Lockhart for leading me in the right direction and providing me with support when I needed it. Last but definitely not least, I would like to give a big thank you to everyone who helped me on my journey. Thank you for your audience and time.
Shane Dowling.
Good morning, students, faculty, and parents of BFCCPS. My name is Shane Dowling, and for my capstone project, I collected and filled backpacks and duffel bags for kids in the foster and daycare systems in Massachusetts. I donated all goods received to 3 different organizations, all with the same purpose: to help kids at the Brandon School in Natick, the Walker School in Needham, and the foster kids of the Merrimack Valley in Methuen, of providing them with a bag either upon their arrival or when they are placed in a permanent home. I chose this project because I felt that there was a tremendous need, and I think that we as a society should help kids in bad situations however we can. Foster children and kids under state care often arrive at their temporary home with their possessions in a garbage bag, since they often come directly from the police station or emergency room. Sadly, sometimes those things are mistaken for garbage and get thrown away. Alternatively, many of these kids arrive with nothing at all, so there's a real need for the donated bags. From my research, I learned that there are 400,000 children in out-of-home care in America on any given day. Most of these children are taken from their homes because they are abused and neglected, or because their parents can't take care of them anymore and they have nowhere else to go. To make things worse, there are fewer and fewer foster families and people who are willing to adopt foster kids. There are many more sad and disturbing facts about foster care in America, as can be seen on this slide. Most sadly, and according to a Harvard University study, 25% of kids in foster care suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. That's the same percentage as the American soldiers who returned from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan who suffered the same thing. Post-traumatic stress disorder is an extreme anxiety disorder usually caused by trauma that involves the threat of injury or even death. By the time foster kids are 12 to 13 years old, they typically give up hope of finding a permanent family, and once they turn a teen, they are on their own, without the benefit of people who love them to guide them. Teens who age out of foster care are highly likely as adults to become homeless, sick, unemployed, and even criminals. In the beginning of my capstone project, I set a few goals for myself. One goal was to collect 75 filled backpacks and duffel bags and to split them between 3 organizations I chose to work with. I was able to exceed my goal at over 90 bags, and I was able to help at least that many kids. I raised awareness by handing out and posting flyers at many businesses and at 2 schools, BFCCPS, our very own school, and my martial arts school, Franklin Martial Arts. I also gave a presentation here at Middle School Assembly, and I spoke with a reporter from the Standard Times in New Bedford. Throughout my capstone project, I of course encountered many obstacles. Most of the stores I went to for help in the beginning didn't follow up or donate anything, and even though I worked on my capstone all summer, I didn't finish, which led me to having to finish it in the fall. Luckily, I solved both these problems. I went to many stores, and the ones that did donate, donated a lot. I also got a lot of help from the wonderful BFCCPS community and from my martial arts school. The second problem I solved by working hard and efficiently, and I also got a lot of help from my parents and grandmother. There are many positive results from this project. For the schools and kids I helped by donating, and of course for me, because of all the nice people I met and all that I learned. It felt really good to be able to help so many local kids in need. If you would like to help, please contact me through Homer 8K. Anyone can have a positive impact on the lives of foster and state care kids in Massachusetts. I would like to thank my parents and grandmother, my advisor, Mrs. Lockhart, the Capstone panel who approved my project, my advising group, Larry Giordano of the foster kids of the Merrimack Valley, Rebecca Porter of the Brand School, Sarah Whalen of the Walker School, the BFCCPS community, Franklin Martial Arts, the Coles of Dartmouth, BJ's of Franklin, Star Market of Medway, and Chestnut Dental of Franklin. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.
Clarity.
Good morning, students, faculty, and parents of the BFCCPS community. My name is Colin Flaherty. For my capstone project, I chose to help those living in poverty. Poverty can happen in so many ways to so many people. Say if they got in a car accident, lost their jobs, can't pay off their debt, or don't have the means to support their family. As of 2012, here in the state of Massachusetts, about 10.7% of the population is living in poverty. We are currently ranked number 14 out of 51 for poverty rate here in the US. I wanted to do something to help these people here in Massachusetts. As many people had trouble finding the organization they wanted to work with for their capstone project, I did not encounter this. It was easy for me because I had prior experience with this organization since I volunteered there before with my family. I worked with a non-profit organization called My Brother's Keeper. My Brother's Keeper gives food, furniture, kitchen goods, and much more to people who can't afford it here in Massachusetts. They are located in Easton and just recently opened up a facility in Dartmouth. My Brother's Keeper is a vibrant, welcoming ministry of love, service, and education. When we were first introduced to the capstone process in October of 2012, I was both excited and nervous. I was excited because I knew what I wanted to do, but I was also nervous because I knew about the speech that I'm giving you right now. I was excited to get started and present to the panel. I was confident and I knew I was going to get the green light, but I got the red light. It did surprise me at first, but after getting all the feedback from the panel, I realized how messy my ideas were, and that I was ready. And I fixed my action plan so I could go and present to the panel again later on that afternoon. But I had to wait another 2 months to present to the panel again. It was a long 2 months, but I finally got the green light, and I was ready to go on with my ideas. I volunteered at My Brother's Keeper over the summer. I realized that they were low on kitchen goods. That inspired me to do a positive pantry drive here at the school. My drive began on October 7th and was originally supposed to go until October 11th, but due to lack of advertisement, it was extended until October 31st. I advertised the drive at an assembly. There, I was also able to educate the students about poverty. Well into the drive, close to the end, I'd received almost no donations. I realized not everybody had seen the flyer on the pink sheet or had heard about the drive. So on October 30th, at 7:30 in the morning, I held up a sign in the courtyard to promote my drive. It was cold, rainy, and my fingers were becoming a little numb holding up the sign. One person laughed at me. That's when Ethan Pellegrino and Hunter Apgar came to the rescue with a cup of hot apple cider, which at least got some feeling back in my fingertips so I could hold up the sign for the rest of the morning. Holding up the sign promoted my drive really well, because after school I went down to my donation bin in Modular and found some of my first donations in over 2 weeks. It must have been good luck too, not just to me, but to the Boston Red Sox. Later on that night, they won the World Series. You're welcome, Red Sox Nation. It actually wasn't me, it was Duck Dynasty and the Beards. The next day is when I got most of my success. I got to school early to put the bin back in the modular. Within 5 minutes, it was overflowing and I needed a place to store my donations. Even after the drive ended, I was getting more and more donations, and I exceeded my goal of 25 pots, pans, and kitchen goods. Even after, I feel that my project was successful and I was able to make a difference in my community. I then donated all the pots, pans, and kitchen goods earlier this month to the Easton facility and even got to deliver them to some people in need. The drive itself and donating the proceeds to my brother's keeper made my capstone 99.9% complete. I knew there was something else I could do that I could add to my project. I decided that I wanted to do a school volunteer day. Because there may have been way too many people, I had to narrow the event down and eventually decided to just bring a couple of friends down to the organization to volunteer there for a day. But nobody I asked was able to make it. Although I was able to volunteer with my family, so I completed my project. There's some obstacles that I had to face during my capstone project. First was the red light. I was able to overcome that, making corrections to my ideas and preparing to present to the panel again. Another obstacle was my drive. The drive had started before the flyer was split the pink sheet. I didn't get the word out to parents about my drive until the next week. I overcame that obstacle by sending the flyer into the pink sheet early that week, so it would be in the pink sheet for sure the next week. I also was able to promote my drive by holding up a sign in the courtyard. Some things I learned over the capstone process were, one, not to procrastinate. I tried to put that in a way you would not heard before, but failed to do so. Something else I learned is not to expect your advisor to do everything for you. I learned that the hard way. I would like to thank everybody who's a part of my capstone, especially Ms. Lockhart for guiding me through the capstone process, Eric Miller down to my brother's keeper for letting me work their organization as part of my capstone project, my parents for driving me wherever I needed to go in order to complete capstone, Cy Dad Already for creating a sign that would go in my donation bin, Ethan Pellegrino and Hunter Afgar for selling me the hot apple cider, which got some feeling back at my fingertips, Ms. Kelly for letting me store some of my donations in her classroom when my bin was overflowing, and donating to my drive, and everybody else who donated to my drive to make it a huge success. Thank you.
Next, Claire Vaughn.
Good morning, students, teachers, and parents of BFCCPS. My name is Claire Vaughn. For my capstone project, I based it on helping the Friends and Food Pantry to end hunger in the local community. When I started this project in 7th grade, I was worried about what topic to choose and how I could help. One of the first choices I thought was hunger, and I don't really know how, but I was always drawn to it, and I couldn't stop thinking about hungry families when I was lying in bed at night, and that may sound sappy, but it's the truth. The first thing I planned on doing for my capstone project was volunteering at the Friends and Food Pantry over the summer. When I went there, I was told that I wasn't old enough to work in the actual building because you had to be 16, and I'm not a master of disguise, so that wasn't really possible. But later in the summer, I realized I could volunteer at the Friends and Food Pantry Community Garden at the King Street Field. So I volunteered there 3 times, once in August and twice in September, doing the basic planting, weeding, and harvesting, all to benefit the Friends and Food Pantry's cause. In the fall, when I did the second part of my capstone, was to spread awareness about hunger to the younger students of the BFCCPS. My original plan was to read a story to all the K-2 classrooms, and with the help of my advisor, I was able to find the book Stone Soup and was able to print flyers I had designed. I planned to visit all of the K-2 classrooms. Did not work out, however, because I had limited time during the school week, and so did the teachers. So I was only able to visit 4 classrooms, the kindergartners and the first graders. One of the obstacles I faced was that I had to send multiple emails to some of the teachers before they had responded in time. At this point in my capstone, I was worried I hadn't done enough, so I just decided to go back to doing the simplest thing, donating. With the help of my mother, we gathered things from our house like tomatoes, beans, onions, and pumpkin, and these are all canned items, they're not from our backyard, to donate to the food pantry, and they told us they were very happy to receive these items, especially since it was around the holiday season. I think I could say my favorite part of my capstone project was visiting the younger students because I felt it had a positive impact on them and that I had encouraged them. The biggest obstacle I faced during this process was getting everything done on time because I procrastinated a lot, as I tend to do sometimes, and it made me stress out about it, and Capstone shouldn't, and Capstone doesn't need to be like that. When I first started this project back in 7th grade, I just thought it was going to be complicated, overwhelming, and, well, overall, I thought it was going to be boring. And sometimes it could be like that, but 99.9% of the time, it's very enjoyable. I enjoyed gardening, and I enjoyed interacting with the younger students, even if they got loud and I had to get the help of a teacher to quiet them down. It's very true. My advice to the 7th graders, do not procrastinate with your project because it will backfire. And now I'd like to share with you what I thought was the most important lesson I learned from this entire process. Is that sometimes something may seem overwhelming or boring, but you can't expect everything to be like that when you first start. Sometimes you have to dig a little deeper and make it fun yourself. There are certain people I would like to thank. I would like to thank the Franklin Food Pantry Community Garden for letting me volunteer, the kindergarten and first grade teachers for letting me read to their class, my parents for driving me to the community garden and helping me with my donations, Marley Patterson for taking pictures of me with the kindergarten class since everyone else was afraid to, and most of all, my advisor, Mrs. Lockhart, for helping me through this entire process. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.
Next, Kieran Kadapali.
Good morning, students, parents, and faculty of BFCCPS. My name is Kieran Kadapali. For my capstone project, I raised awareness about animal cruelty. When brainstorming ideas, I thought about poverty, going green, and animal cruelty. I found out that many students were already focusing on poverty, and going green wasn't something I was very interested in. That's when I decided I would focus on animal cruelty because I love animals and I was very excited to volunteer. Before I could actually start the volunteering and fundraising, I had to get my outline approved. After a short conference with a few teachers, I got an orange light, which meant it was between yellow and red. I was a little disappointed in myself because I was expecting a lot better, but I got the helpful feedback and used it to make my plan better. Then I checked in with Mrs. Lockhart to make sure I was ready to start, and thankfully I was. I worked at a shelter called Stray Pets in Need, also known as SPIN, which is located in Natick, and it's a nonprofit organization that helps homeless animals. I started out by contacting a few organizations, and after several calls and emails, I finally decided on this one. I talked to the owner, a lady named Sue Webb, and told her about my project plan. After a positive reply, I was able to volunteer a few times at the shelter in Natick. I had a wonderful experience. When I volunteered, I worked for 3 weeks, working 2 to 3 hours a week. My goal initially was to work for 5 weeks, but as it got closer to the school year, I had less and less time. However, I still had a great experience. There were mostly cats at the shelter, which was really fun. I purposely chose the afternoon shift to be able to play and interact with the animals. I was enjoying it until I let one of the cats out and it didn't want to go back into the cage. Luckily, after about a half hour, one of the workers came and helped. The other volunteers were very kind and welcoming as well. I had always wanted to volunteer at a shelter before, and I am glad I took the opportunity. During my time volunteering, I learned about all the unfortunate animals that are abandoned and abused every day. This has certainly had a huge impact on my own attitude and awareness towards the situation. In addition to volunteering, I had a fundraiser. I was supposed to have a bake sale, but due to strict allergy rules, I wasn't able to. I brainstormed several other ideas, including a hot chocolate sale, a bracelet sale, and a family gathering, but I was not able to put any of these things together. Instead, I sold lemonade on a hot summer day with the help of a few kind friends, including Sana Shake and Herschel Pucky. While selling lemonade, I also passed out flyers, which helped me teach my peers about the abuse of animals. Due to sales and generous donations, I was very successful and was able to reach my goal of $100. Earlier in the school year, I presented a YouTube video that I created to raise awareness about animal cruelty. This helped me educate grades 3 through 8. I used an assembly period for grades 5, 6, 7, and 8, and for grades 3 and 4, I used their technology classes. I was supposed to have a donation drive as well this year, but there were too many fundraisers going on already, so I decided not to. Also, although I wasn't able to meet all my goals, I am proud of what I did do to make a difference. Throughout this process, I learned many important lessons. I learned how to stay organized and keep in touch with an organization if I have to. I also learned how to work with animals, which I personally had a great time with. Lastly, I learned how important it is to help others, and that the reward received does not have to be anything other than happiness. I would like to thank Mrs. Lockhart, my advisor, for helping me through the entire capstone process, my advising group, Grace, Lorraine, Shane, Claire, Cy, and Colin for their helpful feedback, my parents for their encouragement and cooperation, my friends for helping me raise money, Mr. Stumple for allowing me to present my video to the 3rd and 4th graders during their technology classes, Sue Webb from Spin for all her support, and last but not least, I would like to thank you for being an amazing audience. So thank you for listening, and good luck to the upcoming 8th graders.
Our final student is Lorraine Hughes, but she will be presenting at a later time with Ms. Wolf's group. I would like to announce the next group, and our special guest, Mrs. DiMartino, is here to announce her advising group. Although we don't have baby DiMartino here.
Thank you. I've missed all of you guys. It's really good to see you. Good morning. My advising group is absolutely wonderful. We've been together since 6th grade, and I'm very proud of each and every one of them. They've overcome many obstacles. Some of them just kept hitting obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, and they showed perseverance and a positive attitude through it all. And I'm really proud of what they've accomplished. So, the first two to present are TJ Durkin and Dan.
Hello, students and faculty of BFCCPS. My name is Dan Murphy, and I'm TJ Durkin. For our capstone project, we chose to take on the issue of animal abuse. We chose this topic because we were both interested in working with this, and we knew that that was going to make this a very interesting capstone project. During our research process, we emailed the owner of an animal sanctuary in Norton, Mass, and told her that we are interested in working with her organization. Deborah White, the owner of the organization, responded immediately and said that she was delighted that we are interested in working with her cause. Throughout our project, we have educated our community in many ways throughout our efforts. Our first way was to create a blog about the issue of animal abuse. We informed our community about this by sending an email to the 5th through 8th grades in our school with a link to the blog letting them know about it. We chose a blog to portray the issue of animal abuse because it is a simple yet effective way to get an idea across to a large group of people.
The second aspect of our project was volunteering at the shelter for abused animals in Norton, Mass, named Winslow Farm Animal Sanctuary. The sanctuary takes care of abused animals that have been abandoned by their owners. They have a lot of animals that are such as horses, pigs, dogs, cats, peacocks, etc. The farm is a non-profit organization that relies only on donations. Throughout our project, we accumulated a total of 10 hours of first-time volunteer at the farm. During our time volunteering at the farm, we helped owner Deborah White with many things that needed to be done. For example, we cleaned water buckets, picked up loose feathers off the ground, gave a cat medicine, and brushed horses. The farm takes wonderful care of all the animals. Winslow Farm is an amazing place.
Our original 3 goals of the project were to create a blog, sell t-shirts to raise money to donate to the farm, and volunteer at the farm. We accomplished 2 of our 3 goals without any problems, but our last goal ran into many roadblocks. We had planned to participate in an event in Rentham where we would set up a booth and sell as many t-shirts as we could. The event was a farmer's market for animal-related companies and organizations. We even made a sign to advertise our t-shirts at the stand. The t-shirts were dog-themed, and when we would sell them to the customers, we would explain how all of the money from the purchase would go to the shelter and how our project related to animal abuse. Unfortunately, the event was canceled. Our backup plan was to sell t-shirts here at the school. We then realized that due to the high cost of a t-shirt, most students would not feel comfortable going home to their parents and asking them for $25. Our second backup plan was to sell a less expensive alternative item called a lanyard. The lanyard would cost less money and would be sold for only $4. A A lanyard is a strap that you can wear around your neck with a little hook to attach items to it. We noticed that one of our friends was having a sale right across the street from her school for her project. Not having any ideas of where to sell them, we asked her about what she had done to sell her soap and what had made her project so successful.
She sold her items across the street from our school on the culminating farmers market. We tried on multiple occasions to contact the head of the event, but had no luck. We were very anxious to hear back from the head of the event. We wanted to sell them at the Harvest Festival in downtown Franklin, but to set up one table cost about $200, so that wouldn't work. We couldn't have made a profit with our original goal of raising $125. We had some trouble making a plan for when and where to sell the lanyards. We consulted with Mr. Perna, who was very helpful and stuck with us until we figured out a plan. Even though we were a little late with our fundraising, we got it finished. We found a spot on the calendar in January where we could sell them at school. We also put an advertisement on our blog to let any other relatives or close friends purchase them. When we knew we could sell them, we realized that our project was in the clear. Our blog was all finished, our sale took place, and we had volunteered at the shelter. We were very happy with our results. Our fundraising raised $176 that we presented to Deborah White in the form of a check. We had completed all 3 goals of our project, and we were satisfied with how we educated our community about animal abuse. We both learned a lot about animal abuse, and we believe that Deborah greatly appreciated our service, as well as the animals. We'd like to thank a few people for helping us out in this project. First, we would like to thank Mrs. DiMartino for guiding us through the project and giving us more support, Mr. Perna for helping us overcome our obstacles, Deborah White for allowing us to volunteer at the farm, Mr. Luke Callahan for helping us create the blog, Jonka Sargent for helping us sell the lanyards, Dan's mom for driving us to the farm, and my mom for helping us purchase the lanyards and driving us too. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.
Next up, we have Bernadette Harding. She's a project on breast cancer awareness.
Hello, students and faculty of BFCCPS. My name is Bernadette Harding, and I am in Ms. DiMartino's advising group. For my capstone project, I made homemade soap and sold it to benefit an organization called Hope and Bloom. Hope and Bloom raises money to make gardens in the backyard of breast cancer patients to give them hope throughout their cancer treatment. I chose to do this as my project because my aunt passed away from breast cancer when I was young. Before she passed away, she planted trees outside her window so that she could watch them grow and flourish. Hope and Bloom uses the same idea to spread hope. I also wanted to help people who suffer from this disease and give them hope and strength to conquer it. So naturally, I knew this was the organization for me. I educated others about my capstone project by attaching informational tags about Hope and Bloom to my soap. I was also able to get on Franklin TV to talk about Hope and Bloom and my project. The third way I educated others was by telling my peers about my project and when I would be selling my homemade soap. I also explained to them the different scents that I would be selling, such as lemon, cucumber, woodland elves, and tart apple. As a result, many of them were able to come and buy my soap. I faced many obstacles throughout my capstone project. I was originally going to volunteer to help make a garden. However, Mrs. Hirschon, who runs the organization Hope and Bloom, was making the garden while I was in school and on vacation, so I was not able to participate. I tried to think of another way I could help the organization, but with school applications and schoolwork, I had a hard time thinking of something new to do. However, I still wanted to participate in making a garden, so I will be working on a garden in the spring. I had many positive results from doing my capstone project. First, I was able to positively touch many people with my project. On the first day I sold soap at the Franklin Farmers Market, one woman came up to me and told me that her son was diagnosed with brain cancer when he was 16 months old. Another told me that her mother and 2 sisters all had breast cancer and the work I was doing was wonderful. No matter how frustrated I became with my project, it was worth seeing the impact that my project could have on complete strangers. Second, I raised $360, which will help to make a garden for a breast cancer patient. Lastly, I raised awareness about hope and bloom in my community. I learned a lot from my project. I learned that Capstone is about the process, not the product. Even though I raised over $300, it was the experiences that I learned the most from. Capstone also helped me to learn how to manage my time, a skill that I'm sure I will use in high school. I would like to give some advice to the 7th graders. Over the summer, you will be very tempted not to work on your capstone, but once school starts, it becomes very hard to get work finished. Second, make sure you send your emails in advance. I planned on receiving replies to my emails about a week after I sent them out, but this usually took longer than I expected. The best advice I can give is to work hard and stay focused on the impact your project can have in the community. Throughout this project, a lot of people helped me. I would like to thank my mom for teaching me how to make soap, helping me make the soap, and driving me to places where I sold my soap. I would like to thank my dad for helping me with the budgeting and bringing me food while I was selling my soap. I would also like to thank Mrs. Hershon for letting me work with her organization, my advisor, Ms. DiMartino, who is constantly helping me along with 5 other students, my advising group for giving me feedback on my project, Tim from Grateful Farms, who let me have the space to sell my soap at the farmer's market free of charge, Mrs. Zolo for helping me while Ms. DiMartino was absent, and my friends who helped me sell my soap. To finish off, I would like to leave you with a quote. Sometimes life gets messy. Clean it up with hope. Thank you and have a nice day.
Next, we have Marley Patterson, who worked with Franklin Youth Hockey.
Hello, students and faculty of BFCCPS. My name is Marley Patterson, and I am in Mrs. DiMartino's advising group. For my capstone project, I am helping the Franklin Youth Hockey Association raise money to cut down the cost of tuition to play hockey so that kids who cannot afford to play can participate. I'm also volunteering at their Learn to Play program, which offers an opportunity to learn how to play hockey with help from volunteer coaches. I helped teach kids how to skate, pass, shoot, and the basic rules of the game. I chose this project because when I started to play hockey, I played for Franklin Youth Hockey and learned a great amount. I wanted to give back to the organization that gave me so much. Educating others about your project is very important. I want people to hear about my project so if they are ever interested in doing something similar, they will have a good understanding of how to do it. I educated others by attaching letters to the calendars I sold throughout the school. In doing so, everyone knew where all the money was going and how it was helping Franklin Youth Hockey. Also, when I was collecting donations from other people, I would explain what I was doing and what cause the donations benefited. Many people did their best to help support the cause. Throughout my capstone experience, I faced many obstacles. Originally, my first idea was to start a scholarship program for the hockey program of which I am a member, the Massachusetts Spitfires. I was going to have a 3-on-3 tournament, which would raise money for the scholarship. This idea fell through because of communication. The woman I tried to work with didn't reply quickly to my emails and wasn't organized. She also expected me to be able to plan a tournament in a 2-week time period. Because of this, I had to think of a new idea. I came up with my second idea when thinking about another hockey organization I could help. Immediately, I thought of Franklin Youth Hockey, which was the hockey program I participated in as a child. I emailed them as soon as possible and asked what I could do to help. They were holding a street hockey tournament on Columbus Day. I collected donations for the raffle and encouraged kids to participate. Unfortunately, due to the lack of teams, they had to cancel the event. I had to come up with another idea quickly. My mom reminded me of raffle calendars they sell. This is when a person can purchase a monthly calendar for $5 and your name gets put in a raffle to win a prize on each day of the month. So I created a calendar for January and put all of the donations I collected towards it. The positive results from my project were accomplishing some of my goals. I volunteered as many times as I could at Learn to Play. I taught kids how to skate, stick handle, and pass. This is a positive result because I am passing on what I have learned to younger kids and spreading the love of the game. Another positive result was completing my calendar. My donations didn't go to the event planned, but ended up being put to the same cost. In total, we sold 402 calendars and had an income of $2,010. Throughout this project, I learned many valuable lessons. I learned some people aren't very good at communicating with others. If you're working or end up working with someone like this, I suggest you take charge of your project and decide whether or not you need them to be involved in your capstone project. Another thing I learned is that most people are willing to donate to a good cause if you ask politely. When working with the kids, I learned that many of them became frustrated if they had trouble with a skill. I encouraged them to try again and told them that many people struggle and have to work hard at what they are trying to accomplish. When teaching them this point, I realized that if you don't stop complaining about what you cannot do, you will never be able to do it. Instead, get up and do something about it. This is the main thing I learned, and I hope you understand why it is so important. Throughout my capstone project, many people helped me. My mom and dad always kept me on the right track when I felt like my project was going downhill. They brought me back on my feet and gave me some ideas. Miss DiMartino and my advising group always supported me from the beginning. Whenever I was stuck, they helped keep me in a positive attitude and gave me multiple ideas. Miss Lowell for helping me with my speech when Miss DiMartino was absent. Mr. Perna helped me think of a plan for the donations after the event was canceled and got me back on track. Franklin U. Coffee let me help them by making a January calendar and volunteering with the younger kids at Learn to Play. Also, I would like to thank all the people who bought calendars and donated time and money, which helped make my capstone project complete. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.
Next, we have Nina Pendekar, who did her project on injury prevention and worked with the Franklin School of Performing Arts.
Hello, teachers, staff, parents, and students of BFCCPS. My name is Nina Pendekar. My capstone is about injury prevention. I worked with the Franklin School of the Performing Arts to spread awareness of the importance of stretching. Many of my friends have gotten injured because they have not stretched before playing sports or dancing. One of my friends rushed into a rehearsal and she did not have time to stretch and ended up breaking her foot. Luckily, at FSPA, we always stretch before class and rehearsal, so luckily not too many people have gotten injured. I have danced at FSPA for more than 5 years, so I wanted to give back. At FSPA, they have a stretching class called Casey's class. I have taken this class for 2 years and have learned many useful stretches and strengthening exercises. I decided to conduct my own stretching class at FSPA. I asked my stretching class teacher, Casey Harkness-Andre, to teach this class for students from BFCCPS. This class was held on Tuesdays in May of 2013. The session cost $20 for the 4 lessons. Each class included a variety of stretches and strengthening exercises that could help people improve on individual goals. These exercises were fun and challenging and benefited all age groups. We also talked about the benefits of stretching. All the fees of my class went to the FSPA Scholarship Fund. In total, I raised $248. Many people who took my class said the stretches they learned helped them with dance and sports, as well as having a great time. In October of 2013, I talked to the 3rd and 4th graders about stretching during their gym class period. I discussed the importance of stretching, and I even showed them some stretches from my classes. All the students had a blast and wanted to learn more about stretching and exercising. I educated my school and local community about my capstone project. I educated my school community by talking to the people who attended my class, as well as the 3rd and 4th graders. I also put an advertisement in the pink sheet about my capstone project so the school community could learn about it. The local community of Franklin was informed about my capstone, as well as the people I talked to at FSPA. Luckily, I didn't encounter many obstacles throughout my capstone process. The main problem I had during my capstone was the location of my stretching class. I was going to have my stretching class here on Tuesdays, but due to the faculty meeting, this was not able to happen. Since my stretching teacher was not able to attend the class any other day, I had to have it on Tuesday, so I had to find another location. I have a small studio in my basement, but too many people had signed up, so I had to look for a larger studio. I asked FSPA for a vacant studio on Tuesday, and fortunately, they had one. With that as my only obstacle, my capstone ran quite smoothly. I learned many things during the capstone process. I learned that you have to be very organized and punctual to complete this project. I was only able to hold my class in May because my teacher was not able to do it during the summer, and since I held it in May, I was very glad I could. I also learned that quick thinking is very important. If I had not thought of another studio to hold my class, it could have been a disaster. I also learned that a little effort in advertising goes a long way. I copied flyers for the 3rd through 8th grade, made an online flyer, and put my event in the pink sheet. I put so much effort in advertising, and the outcome was that lots of people came to my class. I have a little bit of advice for the 7th grade. I think that you should work on your project and keep track of all the parts and deadlines. Also, take lots of pictures, because then you can remember the capstone process and make a great PowerPoint. There are many people I would like to thank for helping me make my capstone possible. I would like to thank Casey Harkness Andre for donating her time to teach my class. I would also like to thank my family for supporting me the entire way. I would like to thank Mr. Perna and Mrs. Olnowski for approving my project, and I would like to thank everyone who attended my class for making it a huge hit. I would also like to thank Ms. DiMartino, my advisor, for guiding me through the whole project, and my advisees, Bernie, Marley, TJ, Dan, and Ethan, for giving me some great ideas. I would also like to thank Ms. Solo for helping me write my speech when Ms. DiMartino was absent. Lastly, I would like to thank Coach Burke and Coach Sisman for letting me have some time during their gym class, and Raylan Mercer for giving me a studio at FSPA. To end my speech, I would like to leave you with a quote. What you do determines what you think. So if we want to change our lives, we need to stretch our minds. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
And last but not least for my advising group is Mr. Ethan Pellegrino. He worked with the Medway Food Pantry.
Hello students, as well as the BFCCPS community. My name is Ethan Pellegrino, and I chose to help the Medway Food Pantry for my capstone project. The reason why I chose this project is because I'm aware that hunger is an issue in many towns and communities surrounding Medway. Another reason I chose to help the Medway Food Pantry is because it's one of the smaller food pantries in this area, so there is not a lot of people available to help. Since there is not a lot of people available to help, the food pantry has a hard time supplying food for the people in the community. So I chose to help the Medway Food Pantry since I thought it would have a greater impact than just being another member belonging to a larger food pantry's network. In this way, I could help a food pantry trying to help people in my local community. I help educate people in my family as well as my classmates by selling hot apple cider in the morning. I made announcements during lunch and informed the students what my project was and how the profits would support the efforts. During my capstone project, I had many challenges and obstacles that interfered with my plan, which was forced later to be revised. When I had first started my capstone project, I contacted the Medway Food Pantry, but nobody answered, so I left a message. Unfortunately, they never called back. This was a fairly severe issue, simply because this stuff was due in 1 week. Then I waited till the last day, and no one had returned the call. Therefore, I was forced to speak with the owner in person. Fortunately, they didn't permit me to work over the summer. At first, I had planned to donate 50 hours of my time over the summer. Not everything went according to plan, though. However, because I had overestimated how much time I could contribute in one day. Originally, I planned to help for 6 hours a day, but that was far from the truth. I could only contribute 2 hours at a time at most. I didn't know about the food pantry's time restrictions until I had started, which was about midway through July. By the end of the summer, I had only donated 23 hours. This would not have been a problem if I started earlier. once school had started, I realized that school would and had interfered with the days I could visit the pantry. That being said, I continued donating my time until I had completed 30 hours of my service. This was fairly disappointing, although my advisor had been supportive and explained that 30 hours was sufficient. A positive that occurred to me during my Capstone project was that I was able to help a lot of people in my community that were very hungry. Before I had started Capstone, I sometimes looked down upon people less fortunate than myself. However, after volunteering at the food pantry, I realized that these people had a hard life and had overcame more challenges to be where they are today than what I have ever faced. I also learned a valuable lesson from donating my time. For example, I learned that many people have financial difficulties. This occurred to me the first time that I went to donate my time. I saw hundreds of people that were hungry and could not afford to feed their families. This experience had taught me to be less critical of others and grateful for all I have. I would like to thank some important people for helping me through my capstone. These people include my family for being supportive, the Medway Food Pantry for allowing me to help, Cedric Fahey and Hunter Apgar for helping me set up and sell apple cider in the morning for a year. And finally, I would like to thank my advisor, Mrs. DiMartino and Mrs. Silva. Thank you for all of your support and you have given me throughout this project. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the capstone presentation.
I want to take a second to thank Mrs. Zolo for covering my group while I've been out. I really appreciate it. You guys did a great job. Next is Ms. Wolf's advising group. Hello. I hope everybody's been enjoying these amazing capstone presentations. I've only gotten to work with my group for this past year, and I'm really proud of their accomplishments. But I would like to thank Mrs. Honor, who's here. She was their advisor last year, and she guided them through all of the beginning steps and really helped them focus on the projects that they will be presenting today. So first up for my group is Joe Clark, and he will be talking about cystic fibrosis.
Hello, parents, students, and faculty of BFCCPS. My name is Joe Clark, and for my capstone project, I decided to work with cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is an inherited chronic disease that affects up to 30,000 children and adults in the United States and about 70,000 people worldwide. It's an effective gene, and its protein product causes the body to produce unusually thick, sticky mucus that clogs the lungs and leads to life-threatening lung infections. Cystic fibrosis also can obstruct the pancreas and stops natural enzymes from helping the body break down and absorb food. People who have cystic fibrosis often have very salty tasting skin, persistent coughing, at times with phlegm, frequent lung infections, wheezing or shortness of breath, poor growth, and weight gain in spite of a good appetite, and frequent greasy stools or difficulty in bowel movements. I chose to do my capstone project for cystic fibrosis because my 9-year-old cousin, Grace, has cystic fibrosis. Seeing everything she has to go through with her treatments inspired me to do something for her and all the other people who have cystic fibrosis. For my capstone, my original plan was to walk in the Great Stride Cystic Fibrosis Foundation Walpole Walk in May, to run a wiffle ball tournament, and to do something else that I had not decided. On May 19th, I walked in the Great Stride Cystic Fibrosis Foundation 3-mile walk at Bird Park in Walpole and worked the raffle booth there. In the week leading up to the Super Bowl in February, as my other capstone event, I sold Super Bowl squares for $15 a square. To advertise this and to educate my community, I sent out an email to friends and family telling them about what I was doing for my capstone and about what cystic fibrosis was. I also posted this message on my parents' Facebook page. I ended up selling 3 full grids of squares, and people who didn't buy a square generously donated money anyway. I raised $1,500 doing this. This money went to my team for the Cystic Fibrosis Walk, Gracie's Gang. Since I had raised over $500, I was named a walk super strider and I ended up raising the most amount of money on my team. I had originally planned to have my wolfball tournament in September, but due to unforeseen circumstances, this was unable to happen, so I postponed it to October 19th. One obstacle I had faced was being unable to get in touch with Ryan Jetty, the Franklin Recreation Coordinator, who was going to help me with my wolfball tournament, so I ended up scheduling a meeting with him to fix this. We talked about what I had planned to do, and he helped me get me the gear for the wolfball tournament. We had scheduled another meeting 3 weeks before the tournament scheduled date, which went very well. However, and the last obstacle I had faced, and my biggest one, was that due to conflicts, I only had 7 people sign up for the tournament, so unfortunately I had to cancel it. After the wolfball tournament didn't work out, I felt as if I had to do something else. So, with money generously donated from my family, I bought items so I could raffle off a Boston sports basket. I raised $500 with the basket. My mom's company, LoJack, matched the money I had raised, bringing my grand total to $2,500 raised. There are many people I'd like to thank for helping me with my Capstone project. I'd like to thank my parents for giving me rides and supporting me throughout my project. I'd like to thank my family for helping me with everything I needed. I'd like to thank Ryan Jetty for helping me with my wolfball tournament. I'd like to thank my friends, especially Jack Stavely, Tony Calderon, and Jason Brown, for helping me sell raffle tickets. I'd like to thank my advisor, Miss Wolf. And I'd like to thank my aunt and uncle for giving the foundation the money and giving me rides to the offices of the foundation in Framingham, and my advisor, Miss Wolf. In doing this Capstone project, I learned a couple of things. The first thing I learned was that I could improve my organizing ability, which was very poor in trying to organize the wolfball tournament. I waited until the last minute to get the word out, and obviously, my attempts were futile. I also learned that as Capstone is a great experience, however, the project isn't as important as the process beforehand, especially the worksheets. However, all in all, I thought Capstone is a very rewarding experience. Thank you for your time.
Up next, Will Conley. He's speaking about PMC and PMC kids.
Good morning, students, parents, and faculty of BFCCPS. My name is Will Conley, and for my Capstone project, I chose to raise awareness for PMC and PMC kids. The PMC, or PAMAS Challenge, is a nonprofit bike-a-thon that raises money for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston. I chose to do this as my Capstone project because my sister Grace was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer when she was about 15 years old. She has been fortunate to get treatment at Dana-Farber, where they know about her cancer and are still doing research to find a cure. So when I was looking for organizations and saw that the PMC solely donated to Dana-Farber for research and treatment, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. 100% of the money raised by the riders of the PMC is donated, so they don't keep any in return. Today, the PMC raises more money than any athletic event in the country, and it has been around for 34 years and hopefully more. So far, in total, they have raised $414 million. To reach my goal of raising awareness, I spoke to the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at BFCCPS about the PMC and PMC Kids ride in June of last year. I also sold PMC Kids bracelets and encouraged everyone to participate in the PMC or Kids ride. In doing this, I raised a total of $25. In addition to selling bracelets, I volunteered at the Franklin Water Stop and handed out Gatorade and water to the bike riders on August 4th. Throughout my Capstone classes, I encountered just one obstacle. I originally wanted to put together a team to ride in the PMC Kids, but was not able to due to the amount of time that I had. So I decided to sell bracelets instead. The positive effects of my Capstone was that I raised awareness and a little bit of money for the PMC Kids and PMC. Also, I helped to make a difference to the riders by handing out beverages and giving them support by telling them to stay strong and keep riding. The whole event was inspiring and has made me think I could do this in the future. After the PMC, I rode in another bike-a-thon that had come up, the Proudy, which happens in New Hampshire. When my capstone project was over, I learned 3 things. One thing I learned was that picking an activity that you feel passionate about makes the project feel like less like something you're forced to do, but like something that you want to do. I learned that doing the project over the summer really helps because you don't have to do it on top of your schoolwork. Another thing I learned was that if you're going to do an event that takes place over the summer, that you get any fundraising done, so you can finish your fundraising before your event. I would like to thank my mom for volunteering with me at 5 in the morning, Mrs. Wolf, my advisor, and my advising group, Mrs. Cronin for giving me the bracelets, and Mrs. Brogan for giving me the idea to sell bracelets. I'd also like to thank everyone who bought a bracelet, and finally all of the riders and volunteers for donating money and time to finding a cure for cancer. Thank you.
Up next, Lorin Hughes, Caroline Grella, and Elizabeth Solniski. They're going to be talking about the community garden at our school.
Good morning, students, parents, and faculty of BFCCPS. My name is Caroline Grella.
And my name is Elizabeth Solniski.
And my name is Lorin Hughes. At the beginning of the capstone process in 7th grade, I wanted to help raise awareness about child obesity. To do that, I held an after-school activity to promote healthy living. Unfortunately, not many people attended the program, and there is a small profit. Therefore, I joined Caroline and Elizabeth with the BFCCPS garden.
For our 8th grade capstone project, we decided on continuing the Garden Legacy project with help from Mrs. Schwab. We wanted to help the hungry families of Franklin by donating fresh produce from the BFCCPS garden to the Franklin Food Pantry. We thought it would be good to provide healthy choices for the needy families of Franklin.
We donated several different types of vegetables to the Franklin Food Pantry in order to help the needy families of Franklin. We also volunteered some of our time to assemble 200 bags for the families' Thanksgiving dinners.
We educated others on our topic by allowing students from younger grades to taste some of our fresh lettuce. We also took advantage of the time that would have been wasted waiting for seeds in the garden to grow and got the younger grades involved by giving them mini greenhouses with already planted seeds to take care of and watch grow. We made sure to tell them all about our project and how they can help. We also handed out flyers to grades 4 through 8 that provide information about the Turkey Trot, a 5K that benefits the Franklin Food Pantry. These flyers gave the students a better idea of how serious hunger is and why it is such an important issue, as well as how they can help.
We faced several obstacles during our project. Our first obstacle was following the schedule we had created. This threw us way off when it came to dividing the time for each person to water the garden. Because of this, on some days the garden was not watered. We also found that because we had to water it over the summer and we all had trips to take, the garden was not watered for several days at a time. However, we managed to overcome this by asking friends and family who were able to come by to water the garden.
Another obstacle was time management. We found that it was difficult to set up times to work on the garden, as some people had extracurricular activities while others had no time and no one to drive them to and from the school on certain days. Because of this, we were late for some meetings. We managed to overcome this obstacle by getting rides from parents and friends, and also not participating in some extracurricular activities to fit in time for the garden.
Overall, our project was a success. We managed to donate over 100 pounds of fresh produce to the Franklin Food Pantry throughout our project. This was a major positive result, as our goal stated that we were hoping for 5 to 10 pounds donated.
We learned a lot from our project. One example of what we learned is it is very bad to procrastinate, and every minute you spend watching TV or sitting around is another minute lost when you could be doing something to improve upon your capstone project. We also learned about how major of an issue hunger is and how it greatly affects the town of Franklin. The Franklin Food Pantry helps over 60 families in the town of Franklin alone.
We also learned that doing a project like this not only helps the community, but also yourself. From Capstone, you are able to experience the joy of helping those in need. A community service project like Capstone can also give people an understanding of your contributions to the community and how you have greatly benefited others' lives.
We would like to thank several people, and we really appreciate their help. First, we would like to acknowledge our parents and older siblings who drove us to and from school during the summer. They took time out of their day to take us to the school so we could water the garden, and for that we are truly thankful. We would also like to thank Mrs. Schwab, who gave us a significant amount of help with our project. Without her, we would have been lost. She was an amazing help to us, and we really owe her. We would lastly like to thank our advisors who provided support through this endeavor. Their assistance made the whole process of Capstone easier for us, and for that, we thank them. Personally, I would like to thank all the people who attended my after-school activity, especially Jillian McLaughlin, and I would also like to thank Caroline and Elizabeth for letting me join them halfway through the Capstone process.
Thank you so much for listening to our capstone presentation, and we wish good luck to the 7th graders who are currently working on their capstone projects, as well as the future 7th graders.
Up next, Dylan Kasarjan. He will be speaking about healthy eating and staying active.
Hello, all students and faculty. My name is Dylan Kasarjan, and for my capstone project, I have focused on child obesity. I worked with healthy eating and staying active. About 20% of kids from the ages 6 to 18 are considered obese. Over the past 3 decades, the childhood obesity rate has more than doubled for preschool children aged 2 to 5 years and adolescents aged 12 to 19 years. Michelle Obama has made some impact with her fitness and healthy eating push, but a lot more needs to be done. I read books about healthy eating to kids during lunch and recess. I also worked with an iPhone app called Run for Good. Lastly, I handed out flyers to 3rd and 4th grade students on Dr. Kat's Nutrition Detective. I went inside during lunch and recess 6 times throughout the months of November and December. During these 6 times, I read books based on healthy eating and staying active to 1st and 2nd grade students. After I read the books, I asked them different kinds of questions about what I had just read and had them answer. After they had answered all my questions, I handed out worksheets such as word searches and other fun activities focused on healthy eating to do during the rest of their time or to take home to do for fun. I had some trouble when I started, but at the end it was all a success, and I hope that they learned some things that they could bring home and share with their families. Run for Good is a free iPhone app by Saucony where people log their miles. Saucony makes donations to organizations with a mission to fight childhood obesity and will double its grants if over 10,000 miles are logged in the app in a given month. I asked people to sign up and log miles to help this effort. In order to track them, I created a team in the app called Team Dylan and asked people to join before logging their miles. Team Dylan logged 474 miles in the month of December. We came in 2nd place behind a team called Another Mother Runner, which has 204 members and is a group of runners spawned by the book Run Like a Mother. I didn't have quite the same amount of publicity. I would call 474 miles in a 2nd place a great success, especially since miles logged in December always goes down because of the holidays and the weather. The app is also only available on Apple products and does not have a way to record treadmill miles. Many of the people also said that they would continue to use this app going forward, and in January we are still in 2nd place with 154 miles logged to date. So I'm happy that this will continue to make an impact moving forward. It also got many sedentary adults moving, which is a plus too. I also handed out flyers to 3rd and 4th grade students about Dr. Kat's Nutrition Detective. Dr. Katz's nutrition detective is teaching younger kids on how to read food labels and to tell them what is healthy for them and what is not. I handed out 25 flyers to each 3rd and 4th grade classroom and had the teachers send them home with the kids. I ran into lots of obstacles during my capstone project. To start, I started off with a red light and step 4 and had to restart my project. I went through lots of different project ideas until this year when I came up with 3 completely different ideas that I had to follow through with. During my capstone project, a few people helped me out a lot, and I would like to give thanks to Brendan Keeney for helping me out by coming into the 1st and 2nd grade classrooms to hand out sign-up sheets, and also coming in every Wednesday and Friday that I read to the 2nd grade kids. TJ Durkin for coming downstairs to hand out flyers about Dr. Katz's nutrition detective. I'd like to thank Mrs. Wolf for being a great advisor and always doing her best to keep me on track with my capstone project and making sure that I was doing what I should be doing. Mrs. Onart for helping me start my capstone off strong. Mr. Perna for helping me when I ran into problems, and my mom and dad for helping me more than anyone else throughout my entire capstone project. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the speeches.
Up next, Claudia Moshe, and she'll be speaking about My Brother's Keeper.
Hello and good morning. My name is Claudia Moshe. For my capstone project, I decided to focus on the devastating problem of poverty, an issue that affects many people locally and worldwide. All my life, I have worked with many groups that provide aid to people in need, so I knew that poverty was a subject I wanted to focus on for my project. After debating who I wanted to serve, I picked My Brother's Keeper. This is a nonprofit organization in Easton that collects and delivers food and furniture to local families in need. For my project, I wanted to commit at least 30 hours of service over a 1-year period. I ended up serving a total of 35 hours, which is 5 hours over my goal. When I went to volunteer, there were several different jobs I could help with. Usually I went out on the delivery trucks to pick up furniture donations or bring food and furniture to different townspeople throughout southeastern Massachusetts. In addition to going out on delivery trucks, I also helped store items in their warehouse, such as food donated from the Boston Food Bank. My Brother's Keeper is always in need of volunteers to sort the many truckloads of food donations or organize the numerous furniture donations they receive. I extremely enjoyed my time serving at My Brother's Keeper, not only because I knew I was helping to make a difference in the lives of numerous people in need, but also because the people there are so welcoming and friendly. The staff of My Brother's Keeper consists of only 10 full-time employees, so they depend solely on their volunteers. This allowed me to create special relationships with each of the members of the staff and also befriend the frequent volunteers I would see there. Since the staff is so small, I felt as though my work there was greatly appreciated, and I wasn't just another 1 out of 1,000 people at other larger organizations I could have contributed to. For the outreach part of my project, I wrote an article for my church's newsletter, The Weed. In my article, I mentioned my work at My Brother's Keeper and how people could help in their own way. In addition to talking about my capstone project, I also informed readers about local people living in poverty and different organizations that they can contribute to. It was published in late November, and I received multiple positive comments from my church community and neighbors. These kind remarks made me proud, not only that people liked my article, but also because it showed that people were impacted by it and will hopefully be inclined, as I was, to help people living in poverty. In addition to educating my community through my article, I also brought friends and family with me on a couple of my trips to volunteer, so they too could take part in supporting My Brother's Keeper and experience the joy of helping people in need. Thankfully, I did not face any major obstacles in my capstone process, although there were a few challenges. Every time I wanted to volunteer, I had to schedule a specific day well in advance. This caused some trouble as I was very busy and had difficulty setting away time to go. Also, I had planned on serving most of my hours over the summer, but due to various camps, school courses, and vacations, the majority of my time was taken up. Overall, I was fortunate not to have encountered many obstacles that could have upset my capstone progress. I believe that my project was successful and that I learned from it as well. When I went to volunteer, I had the great opportunity and privilege to actually go out on the delivery trucks and bring either the food or household items to the people in need. This enabled me to see firsthand the effect My Brother's Keeper was having on these poverty-stricken people and the impact of my service. I especially remember one delivery I went on where the recipient was a single mom who had just moved into a new apartment and had no furniture pieces at all, apart from a few basic items. We provided her with everything, including a bed and mattress, couch, table, nightstand, multiple chairs, and other various furniture items. When I realized that this woman had basically nothing, and that really the only source that provided for her, it struck me how devastating it is how most people living in poverty can barely support their basic needs. If it weren't for organizations like My Brother's Keeper, these people would struggle to survive. I'd like to thank a few people who have graciously offered their time and work to assist me with my project. First, I'd like to thank my family, especially my mom. They have supported me through my whole project and have graciously come with me on a couple of my visits. I'd also like to thank Katie Mullaney for gladly agreeing to volunteer with me multiple times, and Lauren Lockhart, who came as well. I liked hearing from both of them how much they enjoyed going with me and how they would gladly volunteer again. I'd also like to acknowledge the staff at My Brother's Keeper who made my visits feel welcomed and my service appreciated. Lastly, I'd like to thank my wonderful advisors. Overall, I am proud of the work I accomplished at My Brother's Keeper, and I look forward to volunteering there in the future. I think my article had the impact on readers I was hoping for, and I'm glad that people enjoyed it. Hopefully they are inclined to help the devastating and growing problem of poverty just like I was. Thank you for listening, and good luck, 7th graders.
Next is Katie Mullaney, and she's going to be speaking about Beads of Hope and the Pan Mass Challenge.
Hello and welcome, students, faculty, and parents of BFCCPS. My name is Katie Mullaney, and for my capstone project, I decided to work with the Pan Mass Challenge, and with my own imagination, I created an organization called Beads of Hope. Funny enough, this wasn't my original plan. I firstly wanted to work with the Brain Injury Association of Massachusetts. After several emails and phone calls, I lost contact with them. I then decided to work with the Pan Mass Challenge, because after working with this organization for over 7 years, I knew it was a project that I could fully dedicate my time and support to. My goal was to raise $250 and to complete a 20-mile Pan Mass Challenge. To complete this goal, I decided to create a raffle basket themed around the Life is Good festival. During this part of my capstone, I faced many obstacles. When I began to collect items to put towards my basket, I immediately thought of going to Toys R Us. Unfortunately, they told me they couldn't donate any items towards my basket. This worried me. I was afraid all stores were going to say this. Luckily, this didn't happen. I went to the Life is Good store and I talked to the manager, Christian Oster. He told me that whenever I bought items to go towards my basket, he'd give me a discount of 20% off. This encouraged me to go to other stores. I next went to the Dairy Queen in North Attleboro, where I received 2 $10 gift cards. At this point, I realized I was missing the biggest part of my basket, the tickets to the Life is Good festival. I sent an email to Clark's company asking if they could donate a few tickets. I was so lucky and thankful that they were able to donate 8 tickets towards my basket. After putting the finishing touches on my basket, I went to the Little Gym and I talked to the owner, Miss Regina. She told me she'd love for me to sell tickets there, and how excited. She told me she would love for me to sell tickets there. She even told me when I wasn't able to sell tickets, her staff would sell them for me. Every day after school and on the weekends, I went and sold tickets until closing, making around $500 off the raffle tickets. I received an anonymous donation of $60, bringing my total to $560. I was happy that I was raising money, but this wasn't my main concern with this project. I wanted to raise awareness. The awareness part to me was more important than the money I raised. I then decided the best way for me to raise awareness was to create a whole new organization. Beads of Hope was influenced by the organization Seeds of Happiness. Beads of Hope is my organization that focuses on comforting children dealing with cancer. I wanted each student in grades K through 5 to paint a wooden bead that I would then deliver to the Dana-Farber Research Center in Boston. There, any child patient could collect a bead, make a necklace or bracelet during their time of treatment. After I bought the beads, I took them to my dad's company, Ray Mullaney Painting, who donated the space to make my idea come to life. The only thing I was missing were the actual people to paint the beads. The art teacher here, Miss Wolf, granted me permission to use her classroom as a space to complete my project. All my teachers were so kind, letting me out of class from time to time to work on my capstone. I went to the students' art classes, where I had prepared a PowerPoint that explained Beads of Hope. I was overjoyed at the students' eagerness and willingness to paint a bead. I think they all enjoyed and learned from this new experience. I then contacted Miss Young, the director at the Dana-Farber Research Center. She told me when I could drop off the beads and how excited the children were to receive them. When I met with Miss Young to show her the beads, she loved them. I was so proud that I was not only representing myself, but I was also representing the generosity and support of BFCCPS. Once the beads were delivered, I could focus on the final part of my capstone project, the 20-mile bike race. On September 29, 2013, my parents and I made our way to New Hampshire where the race was held. When opening ceremony began, Ellen Fisher, the coordinator, mentioned all I had accomplished for my project. It was so unexpected, but I was so thankful for the acknowledgement. It was also pleasing to hear her speak of surviving cancer patients who were now able to go swimming and on an airplane for the first time. I was motivated during the race to keep going because I tell myself how cancer patients go through more than I ever will. In the end, I finished the race. From this project, I learned that awareness can be more important than raising money. I enjoyed educating others about my organization and the positive effect it can have on cancer patients. Lastly, I would like to thank Ms. Wolf, my advisor, Ms. Onart, my advisor, my advisees, my parents for supporting me, Ellen Fisher at the PMC, Ms. Regina at the Littleton, and to all who donated to my organization and cause. Thank you.
Next up is Connor O'Rourke. He's going to be speaking about rheumatoid arthritis.
Hello, students, parents, and faculty. My name is Connor O'Rourke. For my capstone, I chose to do my project on rheumatoid arthritis. I chose this topic because about 2 years ago, my grandfather was diagnosed with a severe form of the disease. Rheumatoid arthritis is an inflammatory disease characterized by pain, swelling, stiffness, and reduced function of the joints. It typically is a long-term disease that commonly occurs after 40 years old, but can begin at younger ages. For several months, my grandfather struggled doing simple things with his pains, like walking to the mailbox. And when the time came to think about what I wanted to do for capstone, I knew I wanted to work with rheumatoid arthritis. I originally had 3 main goals for my capstone. My first goal was to bring in a guest speaker to talk about RA. The second was to raise money. My final goal was to do some advocacy work. The first step in my capstone was to raise awareness for RA. I did this by bringing in a guest speaker, my grandfather, Rick Watson. I introduced him, and for about 10 minutes, he taught grades 5 through 8 about what RA is, the causes and effects, and the medical attention that is needed. The second part of my capstone was raising money. I wanted to do this because the organization I was working with, the Jeffrey Gottfried Children's Arthritis Foundation, suggested that I should try to raise money to buy an iPad to donate to a children's hospital for patients with RA to use when they are awaiting treatment. I accomplished this goal by doing 2 hot chocolate sales, one in October, which raised $240, and one in December, which raised about $100. I also received a $50 donation from my grandfather. Alec Ryu helped me with the hot chocolate sale, and a portion of the money raised went towards his capstone. The rest of the money purchased an iPad mini and an iTunes gift card. I later emailed out letters asking different local hospitals if they were interested in receiving the iPad. A representative of the Floating Hospital for Children in Boston responded. She said that patients would be thrilled to have access to the iPad, and I have an appointment today at 4 o'clock to tour the clinic with the Chief of Pediatric Rheumatology and donate the iPad and the gift card. The final goal for my capstone was to write advocacy letters to Congress to let them know that rheumatoid arthritis is a disease that needs more attention. One important fact is that while 300,000 children in the U.S. suffer with juvenile rheumatic diseases, there are 12 states in our country which do not have pediatric rheumatologists. There are a couple obstacles I encountered during my capstone experience. One of them was communicating with my contact organization. When I reached out to rheumatoid arthritis organizations, there were 2 groups that replied to me. One person was Shannon from Rheum.org, and the other was Shauna from the Jeffrey Gottfried Children's Arthritis Foundation. Since the names were so similar, it was a little difficult to keep the email straight. One time I responded to Shannon thinking she was Shauna. We both ended up being confused. Another small obstacle was planning times to host my hot chocolate sales. I got the first one planned pretty quickly and easily, but when I realized I needed to raise more money, it became more difficult for me because other 8th graders were also trying to have sales in the courtyard before school. Maybe I should have booked the time on the calendar earlier in case I needed to have the second sale. There are several people I would like to thank for helping me with my capstone project. my parents for helping me make the hot chocolate, my family, especially my grandfather, for the informative speech and for influencing my capstone, my friends for helping me with the sale, especially Alec Rio, Mr. Perna, Mrs. Honart, and my advisor, Mrs. Wolf. While doing this capstone project, I learned several things. One thing I learned was to not waste time. Even though I got everything done when I was supposed to, I felt as if it could have been easier if I managed my time better. Another thing I learned was to stay organized. Occasionally when I was looking for specific documents or papers, I had trouble finding them because my capstone folder wasn't as organized as it could have been. Overall, capstone was a great experience for me, and I learned a lot from it. I'm glad that I learned more about rheumatoid arthritis and can better understand what my grandfather and so many other people have to deal with on a daily basis. I feel good about the fact that the money I raised will be used to provide something fun for the children at the floating hospital. And I am looking forward to going into the hospital later today. Thank you for your time.
And for our final presentation today, we have Alec Rio, and he's going to be speaking about the Forge Hill Senior Living Community.
Hello, students, faculty, and parents of BFCCPS. My name is Alec Rio, and for my capstone project, I focused on senior citizens. My interest in this topic came from my family, friends, and neighbors. When you're young like myself, my fellow students, and of course the BFCCPS faculty, life is fun and exciting as we are discovering new things every day. But when we grow older, the world can get much smaller, and some people can begin to feel lonely and depressed. I chose this project to bring smiles to the faces of seniors by participating with them in activities which are not only enjoyable, but are also mentally stimulating, physically beneficial, and help them feel less lonely and much more fulfilled and involved. Also, studies show that seniors who do not exercise their brains regularly by participating in activities have a higher risk of Alzheimer's and other memory-related diseases. The first goal of my capstone project was to volunteer at the Franklin Forge Hill Senior Living Community at least 6 times over summer vacation. I plan to visit the facility every Wednesday for 6 weeks and volunteer there by helping the staff with drinks and food during socials, playing the piano for them, helping the seniors in and out of chairs, and by playing card games like bingo and skippo. I also brought along with me a couple of friends, my neighbor Chris Kasha and my friend Danny Angermeyer, because the elderly really enjoy spending time with youngsters. Together we shared stories and told jokes that brought many smiles to the faces of the seniors. They absolutely love having people like me and my friends interacting with them. Volunteering at the senior center wasn't my only goal, however. My neighbor, a senior citizen as well, is a member at another senior living community, and so when she shared her experiences about her facility to help me with my project, she mentioned her wheelchair volleyball games at her center at Run, and she said that it was her favorite activity there. So I decided to incorporate it into my project. Miss Leah, the activities director at Forge Hill Senior Center, agreed that the seniors would love a wheelchair volleyball team, but they didn't have a net. This was a blessing in disguise because I was looking for opportunities to raise awareness about my project, and in addition, I had to raise money for a net. To do this, I needed to run a fundraiser which would raise enough money for at most an $80 net. So my friend Connor O'Rourke and I joined forces to raise the money by running several hot chocolate sales together. We would split the profits of the sale into the 2 amounts of money we needed for our project. We would both also get our messages out about our projects by telling each customer how we plan to use the funds to benefit others. Together, our sale raised about $340, more than enough to buy the net and Connor's iPad. Although my project was mostly successful, I faced many challenges and obstacles. The first of these obstacles was the fact that I was not able to accomplish my goal of 6 visits over the summer due to my vacation to Maine in August. To make up the week I missed, I was allowed to reschedule my 6th visit to another week on a weekend day. The second obstacle I faced was the fact that I had lost my capstone folder, which had important information, such as names, dates, phone numbers, and email addresses. This set me back because now I had no more contact information with Mrs. Leah and didn't know what times and dates I would visit. Luckily, Mrs. Leah was able to send me the information again. The third obstacle I faced was getting rides to the facility and back. Both of my parents were working during the times I needed to be dropped off, and many times I needed to find rides with my neighbors and friends' parents who were not working. I'm very grateful to them as I could not have accomplished my goals without them. Despite the obstacles I faced, I was able to achieve my goals and spread awareness about the elderly and the isolation and loneliness some of them can begin to feel and how others can help alleviate these feelings. I've learned that loneliness is one of the worst types of suffering an elderly person can experience, and that a simple joke or a game of cards means a lot to someone who's lonely. I've also learned that a smile is highly contagious and brings happiness to everyone. Throughout my Capstone experience, many wonderful people have helped me to accomplish my goals, and without them, I would not have been able to achieve them. I'd like to thank Ms. Wolf, my advisor, Mrs. Honor, my old advisor, Mr. Perna, my parents for driving me to the senior center, Mrs. Leah, the activities director at Fort Hill, and my advising group for helping me throughout my Capstone experience, and my friends Danny, Connor, and Chris, and everyone else who helped me through my Capstone experience. Thank you. I'm not done yet. The advice I have for the 7th graders who are just beginning their capstones is to choose a project you feel strongly about. Because if you're doing something you truly enjoy, then it will not feel like work at all. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have enjoyed all of our capstone presentations.
Great job, Alec. You handled that beautifully. Awesome job. Thank you all very much for coming and listening to our 8th grade presentation today. I hope you are as inspired by them as I am and see all of the hard work and dedication that they have put into completing these projects. Can we please have our students who presented rise so we can give you a round of applause? A very special thank you to Dr. O'Malley for attending our presentation event today. And we also need to thank Mrs. Honor for coming today to support her group. Mrs. Honor started last year as our capstone coordinator, so not only did she support her group in starting the capstone process, but also supported the advisors and the other groups of students who are starting this process. She was the first person in the school to hold that position, and she did a wonderful job with it. So thank you so much for all of your hard work. I also need to just take a minute to thank Mrs. Schwab. I'm not sure if she's here, if she's setting up for lunch. She is. Not only does she do an incredible amount of work supporting the Guarded Group and some other of our legacy projects, but she worked very closely with the 8th grade parents to set up the presentation of the capstone pyramids that we have here, as well as with Mrs. Serapis to set up the lunch that the students will attend this afternoon. So thank you, Mrs. Schwab, for all of your help. I don't know if Mr. Perna is still here. We need to also thank Mr. Perna. Many of you thanked him in your speeches, but he is integral in making sure that these Thank you to the parents and grandparents who support these projects. They would not be possible without you helping and supporting the students along the way. So thank you all very much for coming and for supporting the students. Congratulations, 8th graders. You have completed this project that you've been working so hard on for 8 years, and that is awesome. And then, you still got a couple of months until you graduate. And 7th graders, I hope that you learned a lot from this presentation. You have already started your project and are well on your way to presenting for next year. So thank you guys so much. I am going to ask the 8th grade students who presented today to stay. The rest of you are going to go to your block period. We don't have lunch until 11:30, so you guys can go back up. 5th grade, you can enter.